I have a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper in my hands because it is the newspaper review segment of Daybreak. Thanks for staying with us. And if you've missed any part of the conversation, you can do well to follow us across all of our social channels and also follow our live stream on YouTube for more news, programs and documentaries. Starting with the lead story here, how to get 2024 budget right. That's according to Economists. Proposal low compared to South Africa, Ghana, others. LCCI. Nigerians not interested in figures, but according to Rewani, senators, reps consider Tinubu's 27.5 trillion naira budget without details. That's on page 4. And on the belt, we see Navy arrests 2 ships, crew for illegal fishing. That's an interesting story. Read more on page 32. Also, we see 1,001 students of Kano State Government Foreign Scholarship departing to their respective destination. That's the pictorial there. And also at the top of the page, 9 months after, Lagos Airport International Runway remains closed. Do you want to know why? Check page 23 of the Daily Trust. Nigerian nurse in UK sacked, deported over prayer for dying patient. That's a peculiar story. Read it up on page 6 of the Daily Trust. And also, villagers flee as soldiers leave Kaduna community. So the soldiers are leaving and the villagers are leaving with the soldiers as well. Read more on that story on page 33. That's some of the stories spread across the front page of the Daily Trust today.
All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. The major story there says new wage begins April. The federal government votes 24 trillion naira for salaries. The writer says Labour, federal government begin talks and current wage regime expires March ending, says the minister. Federal government laments fiscal deficit and reps condemned the high MDA salaries and demand ICPC probe. You find all the stories on page 2 of the newspaper. Below that, we have the pictorial of King Charles III and the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, where it says the COP28, Tinubu meets King Charles, Nigeria, others about $261 billion fund. JAPA, federal government urges the varsities to produce more doctors. You find this on page 7. Beside that, we have Kwara Monarch, 2 others bag life jail for kidnapping. Assembly drops suit against Aiyedatiwa ex-co embraces peace. At the top of the page there, we have CBN fund. Senate threatens to order gas companies probe. You find this on page 7. Shaibu free to contest Edo governor. That's according to Obaseki. Federal government pays 585 million naira fines, begins nationwide prisoners release. You find this and more stories on the Punch newspaper this morning.
And to the Nation newspaper, from the top of the page, we see Lagos Abuja demolitions, Ohaneze kicks. We follow rule of law. That's on page 1. Edo PDP governorship primary process in shaky start. Page 5. FEMA needs 300 billion naira annually to fix federal roads. Abiodun presents 703 billion naira budget 2024 estimates. And for the lead story, just before then, we see on the belt, UK willing to partner Nigeria on lithium value chain, says Alake. Page 3. Lead story now, how federal government will tackle budget 2024 deficit by the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun. The measures will crash shortfall from 6.11% to 3.88% of GDP. Senate House begin debate on 27.6 trillion naira estimates. Also, budget brilliance, says Senator Jimoh Ibrahim. So there are a couple of measures that I'll read out to you now. 1, massive revenue growth. 2nd, high-impact productive projects. 3rd, public-private partnerships. The 4th, monetization of assets, also foreign local investments. And finally, blockage of leakages in government funds. This was stated by the president during the budget proposal before the National Assembly. Aiyedatiwa, Ondo House close ranks. EXCO adopts Abuja peace terms. House withdraws suit against deputy governor. Workers to get 35,000. Beside the pictorial also, we see Nigeria-UK strengthens ties. Tinubu, King Charles III, the third, meet. And finally, on the belt below, Medical Dental Council We will help to address doctors' mass exodus. You want to know how they will do so? Well, you should read page 3 of the Nation newspaper. Perhaps it would help give us some perspective of how to prevent the Japa syndrome that has so bedeviled the country for so long. Well, these are some of the stories on the Nation newspaper today.
International Day amid ravaging scourge, HIV cure vaccine still elusive 42 years on. Now, this is the big story on the Guardian newspaper, and you'll find this on page 4 and 5 of the newspaper there. And it says about 1.9 million Nigerians living with the HIV/AIDS as of 2022. So we're estimating that it's a larger, this year. We have 42% male and 58% female. The national average mother-to-child transmitted rate of about 22% or 25% as well, and few states with rates below 15%. So all this, there's also about a donor agency that spends $750 million, about 750 billion naira in Nigeria in order to per percent of total funds spent yearly on HIV/AIDS programs. So there's a lot to take a look at on that one. You find on page 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. There below there we have Nigeria missing as HIV prevention product for women arrives second African nations. The reps knock oil operators over letdown of host communities. Lagos Assembly takes inventory of failed state roads. National Assembly begins debate on 2024 budget despite debt servicing concern. We have about 135 billion naira intervention funds. Senate may alert anti-graft agency on recovery. UN leader calls for action, higher ambition as COP28 opens in Dubai. Now, these are some of the stories on the Guardian newspaper today.
We now move to Vanguard. Lead story there says federal government's MDA is now undertakers of businesses, according to MAN and the NECA. Laments rising inflation, multiplicity of taxes, threats of strikes, protests. Say Nigeria needs investments to create jobs. Lord organized businesses for resilience. People not interested in budget figures if prices of bread, rice remains high. That's, of course, according to Rewani, and which is true as well. Adds you can fake news, but can't fake prosperity. Also, Supreme Court judgment, tension grips Nasarawa. That story is on page 2. U.S. star diplomat Henry Kissinger dies at 100. 135 billion naira CBN intervention funds. Senate to unleash EFCC, ICPC on defaulters. Also, we see Minister to Reps, Education facing huge problems. Well, there are some pictorials there. We see the President of Nigeria meeting with King Charles III. Also, Nigeria Air, the bare-faced fact. I think this is a column you can read on page 23. Well, these are some of the stories on the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
All right, I will take a look at this day newspaper this morning. From the top of the page, it says Zenith Bank signs MOU with the CFA Institute to develop finance investment professionals in Dubai Tinubu Palace with King Charles ahead of COP28 summit. Below the headmaster, it says despite 1.78 million BPD budget production benchmark, the OPEC hands Nigeria 1.5 M BPD output for 2024. NAS begins debate on Tinubu's 27.5 trillion naira budget with details of fiscal documents. The revenue or weighing Nigerians' interest in food affordability, not budgetary arithmetics, says citizens want to feel the impact of government's economic policies. The major story says NERC stakeholders seek dedicated funding to meet massive investment gap in power. Rider says Disco lists illiquidity, FX scarcity as the factors hindering mass metering. Shetima, mass metering manufacturing will help continue address power challenges. The federal government warns against power theft, says liquidity dependent on customers' ability to pay, says licenses must meet renewable energy obligations. Now, these are some of the stories on on this day newspaper today.
Until the Nigerian Tribune. From the very top, Ayedatiwa presides over Ondo Exco meeting. All political issues resolved. That's according to the government. Assembly withdraws case against Deputy Governor. Besides that, we see reps NSE argue over concrete technology for road construction. Shaibu free to contest, but PDP members will decide Edo Guba candidate. That's according to the governor there, Obaseki. Also, 2024 budget, reps call for fiscal responsibility, public service reform. Task executive on security, economic diversification, employment generation. Senate leader faults 9.9 trillion naira recurrent expenditure. Nigerians uninterested in budgetary arithmetic if bread, rice prices don't increase. Lead story says 80% surge in food importation alarming, according to the federal government. 88.5 million Nigerians threatened with insufficient food consumption. Food inflation stood at 31.52% in October, says Nigeria has highest rate of stunted children globally. Explained what is being done to reverse the case. That story is on page 8. Also, First Bank Group appoints Adenowo MD/CEO First Bank UK. 135 billion naira gas intervention project. Senators kick as CBN Petroleum Ministry trade blame. Finally, Makinde presents new Ashain staff of office December 14. These are some of the stories on the Nigerian Tribune today.
Right now we have joining us Nuruddin Abdullah, editor of 21st Century, joining us to review the front pages today. Good morning and thank you for
Good morning, Haji.
Yes, good morning, Nura.
Yeah, good
Welcome.
morning,
I would like to, start with the Jackpot syndrome because like I said earlier, I wanted to hear your take on
Sumi,
that.
I really feel we should hold off on that. Even though I know he's going to jackpot sometime later, but let's hold that conversation
Indeed.
first.
All right, let's start with the major story on the Daily Trust
So now
newspaper.
there's this story about the budget presentation. It happened just a few days ago, but renowned economist Mr. Rewani has stated that the entire figure and the bulk of everything does not concern the ordinary Nigerians, and I really subscribe to what he said, because if at the end of the day I go to the market or you go to the market and the price of bread remains 1,300 naira a loaf, or the price of a bag of rice is still 45,000 to 55,000 depending on the quality, it doesn't really change much for the average Nigerian. These budgetary allocations are just figures upon figures upon figures that they need to continue to wrap their head around. So I want your opinion on that.
Okay, I think the renowned economist is speaking literally, to put it that way. The budget is about the people. About 18 trillion. 10 trillion is going to non-debt servicing, and 8 trillion going for recurrent expenditure. You pay salaries, you pay allowances, you pay overhead and what have you. The civil servant are the people and their families. That is one. And look at even the sectoral allocations. Education gets the largest chunk of it.
Actually, security with
security.
3.25 trillion.
Education, exactly.
Then education with 2
education,
trillion.
you understand. There is even 50 billion for the student loan scheme.
Indeed.
So, he's talking from the economic point of view, particularly that the budget system has become a recurring decimal. The president will go and present, the lawmakers will do the first reading, second reading, invite some of the MDAs to defend it, and that's all.
So it's gradually becoming a ceremony.
Exactly. And I think more importantly, we don't have a problem with the figures. We're talking about 33 billion US dollars, which is about 8.something% up to our GDP, which some economists are saying that is small compared to, let's say, Ghana, Egypt, and
South Africa.
South Africa in particular. Yes, they are quite right, but let's target the implementation. In US, for instance, every line by line, every budget approved by the Congress will be implemented. It will be implemented. Whatever happens, yes, it becomes a law. If there is no money, the Treasury Department will have to find a way of getting the money to implement line by line. It is not the same thing here. We are still grappling with that 5% implementation. Yeah, we implement almost 90 or 100% of the recurrent, the debt servicing. But the capital vote, which is about 8.something trillion, you understand. I think the way I look at the budget, you understand, particularly the financing aspect, the government for the first time is concentrating on road tax. Yeah, the Buhari administration started it. The government don't have the money to finance those something. So private sector, the conglomerates should come in and build the roads and toll them. Maybe some people will be angry with that. We need to toll. If Ajay is going from here to Kaduna, beautiful roads and whatever, it needs to be tolled so that it can be maintained. And so on and so forth. So I think these are some of the issues. What we should concentrate, the budget has no problem per se, but how many percent of it are we going to implement? I think that is what the new administration should focus on. That is what the lawmakers should insist on. What is the performance of the last budget? How many percent?
Implementation.
Less than 50, I think. We are looking forward to a situation whereby every line of the budget becomes a law that must be implemented, that obtains in other climes.
So is that what it means here when it says the senators and reps are about to consider the budget of the president that he presented, but then they are missing out on the key details?
Okay, personally, which details? The National Assembly will not reject anything. Yes.
So you're preempting them already?
Of course. Look at the antecedents, you understand. Maybe some small, the insecurity is still an issue, as well as the national security architecture. Education is still a key, as well as the capital vote. We need to build schools, we need to build hospitals, we need to build bridges, roads, and what have you.
Yeah, speaking on the figures, don't you think when it comes to health, it seemed like it's not really prioritized as other sectors? And considering what we're going through, about needing more health workers and needing more facilities and equipment in the country.
Yes, you're somewhat right, but the local governments, the 774 local governments, the 30 states are equally involved. The federal government is basically concerned about tertiary health system, teaching hospitals, of the federally owned universities. You understand? So I think, they are doing PhDs and what have you, but that principally the responsibility of the subnationals, particularly at the lowest ebb, the local government. Maybe another thing is this. Everybody is talking about budget, national budget. You can't tell me, if you are asked now, what is the budget of your state? You may not know. Not talk about going sectorally. How much has been presented by my state governor, Mr. Abagida to the State Assembly? I may not know. Something to you. We concentrate on the national, which is just some part of it. Whereas the real development, you're talking about health. Go to the subnationals, state and local government, they get money. So maybe it's one thing that particularly the NGOs, even the government need to look into. It's just 27 trillion. What is the total budget of the 36 states for 2024? Almost that figure. How much is the deficit? How are they going to finance it? Who is holding them to account? Nobody. Nobody is even asking of the details. So when we just concentrate on the federal government concerns everybody, but there are certain salient issues that need to be trickled down, need to be tackled. Hold these people to account. They collect money every month. They generate IGR. But nobody's asking them, Mr. Governor, how did you spend so you collect? Mr. Local Government Chairman, how? So I think maybe we need to be holistic in that approach. When we do that, we hold the federal government to account, we hold the state governors to account, we hold the local government to account. When you have the whole, maybe we'll have a better understanding of the situation and better deal for the electorate.
It's a good way to look at it. I mean, even when it comes to politics, it was the same view where everyone says we concentrate more on the federal government and forget that the states and the local governments that we should pay attention to.
So Sumi was trying to say something about the Jackpot syndrome. I really have interest in it, and I want to hear it.
Okay.
Is your passport ready?
Well, you see,
visa ready.
During the conversation, off air, she was telling me how she was actually blowing the whistle as to how she caught you unexpectedly in an event, a seminar of some sort. So, and that the plan at that event, they were talking about how easy it is to jackpot, and she saw you there. So I don't want to mention the name of the event or the country that the event is affiliated to, but I know that his passport is ready and he would leave very soon.
So we do need to know about this. Okay, so basically, I mean, there's been a lot of reports coming out about the numbers of people living, and we're talking about hospitals, right? We're talking about health personnel over there leaving the country in order to go there. I mean, statistics says about 400 consultants and anesthetists left Nigeria in 2 years. 400. We're not just the people that give injection before surgery. I mean, those are the people. And then every day there is that number. It keeps increasing.
There's
to
also
a point
the percentage
that
of 55,000 midwives that have left the country between 2018 and date.
And then loads came out. The Lagos State Teaching Hospital also came out to say that they are closing down some some hospital rooms and all that because they are understaffed. They don't have doctors, they don't have nurses, and it's becoming so alarming. Hence the reason why I said with the budget, that the president presented, health is like taking a backseat. And we also saw in news where now they're pushing on varsity to produce more doctors and nurses, health workers. So now this is the fear. Already Nigerians are losing so much hope and leaving the country. And one of the things that we keep bragging about is the numbers. We have the labor, but then right now we are losing the labor in a chalk number. So what do we do at this point? What are we doing wrong?
Okay, I think let me start with the Lagos aspect. The Lagos teaching hospital, last week teaching hospital. When the entire personnel of a department leaves, you understand, what stopped them from recruiting? Ask MDCN, ask the nursing, midwifery, whatever. I still know hundreds of doctors who are not employed. Yes, who are hustling, moving from one hospital to another and what have you. Even the nurses. Jackpot, or how do you even pronounce it, is not evil as many Nigerians want to put it. The country, you are talking about diaspora remittance. If people don't japa, how will they remit dollars to the country? We should look at that perspective. When we are growing up, my first teacher, I think, was a Ghanaian. I remember in primary school. It was a Catholic school, I remember it. He was a Ghanaian. So at that time, when I was growing up, there were about 3 or 4 Ghanaians. Even before then, the northern region had more Pakistanis, more Ghanaians. You understand? In our hospitals and in our schools. It was an agreement. You pay them here, but there are a certain amount that you remit to their home government. Their government was making money. It's not a bad thing per se. Go to the UK, for instance. The Prime Minister of UK is ethnically Indian. So what's wrong with that? Back home, we need to produce more doctors to maybe export them so that they can remit back dollars, hard currencies, to improve the economy here.
But the fear here is that we don't have enough. I mean, one of the things that we all agree on is that our health system is a bit weak.
Why is it weak? Is it only about the personnel? Have you checked how many nurses and midwives our health schools are producing every year? Ask the midwifery, what if you? Yeah, I know particularly when we did stories some years back, the traffic in even doctors, trained doctors getting, they have to stay some years before they get even housemanship because of the fewer number of the consultants. But I was asking one of the registrar, was it general of the MTCN? I said, then why can't you open it up? Why are you giving, not long ago in BUK, I was discussing with the registrar, he's late now, he's a cousin of mine. He said, they have all the facilities. It's about the approving authority was adamant in increasing the number of applicants they receive and train. So you have to look at it from a holistic point of view, not just Japan. You train people, send them abroad, let them go there and work and remit hard currency. We are still talking about the diaspora remittance and what have you. So it is not a bad thing per se, only if we don't work on it properly. The Indians, the Pakistanis were doing it. Go to Silicon Valley, for instance, now. Majority of the workforce are Asians. The higher percentage of the Asians are Indians. Look at the IT companies.
So why are the hospitals not hiring? I mean,
that is the question we should ask. The universities are producing doctors. The health schools and whatever are producing nurses, both registered and auxiliaries. But where are they? That is the question we should be asking. But as far as I am concerned, there is nothing wrong for our professionals to go abroad, work and earn money and remit it back. That's what most of these Asian countries are doing. Take India, for instance, when you're talking about the IT sector. About 5 topmost IT companies in the world are now run by Indian CEOs.
Okay.
We hope we get
so let's talk about Jackpot within Nigeria now. So on the Daily Trust, we see the story: villagers flee as soldiers leave Kaduna community. I think I should just read a couple of paragraphs. It says, residents of Maganda village located in Magajingari Ward 3 of Birnin-Gwari local government area of Kaduna State have abandoned their homes following the withdrawal of security personnel stationed in the area. It was gathered that some villagers left due to fear of potential attacks by bandits who have been terrorizing the community for years. The residents said the security personnel deployed to protect the villages left the area last Saturday without prior notice, causing confusion among the locals. Anuruddin.
Yeah, Maganda, that is in Birnin-Gwari local government, you understand. One of the, is it ground zero of banditry, particularly in Kaduna State, or even in Kaduna State. I think minus Zamfara, Birnin-Gwari is notorious for. So I don't know, in that area, if you, based on the reports, there is a sort of a misgrill of banditry and even Boko Haram, particularly the Ansaru or the ISWAP.
Weren't they the ones that at some points they sent letters to members of the community saying that they are there to protect them and they're there for their own interest?
Maybe until recently, there are even some sort of villages that are still being governed by these undesirable elements. that Birnogwari. So it's a very terrible help. Was it an assistant commissioner or was it a DPO, you remember, was posted to Birnogwari and he was abducted on his way to the local government?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the place is very, very notorious for, based on the topography.
So why are the security agents, the army, leaving that place?
And what's the
it's so
expectation?
unsafe?
Because, I mean, on the 2024 appropriation proposal, it's 3.2 trillion naira or thereabout for security and defense. I mean, we've had in time past having security and defense chugging up a large percentage or a large chunk of the budget. Isn't this an indictment?
A lot needs to be done. What are the releases?
Because the budget is just a proposal. Implementation.
How many
is another
percent
question.
implementation? That's what I'm talking about. What are the releases? Ask the Accountant General Office. Somalia has been allocated 50 billion.
I wasn't.
Go and ask her.
Oh, it's an
At the end of the day, if she struggles and she can talk, she can smile to the Accountant General, maybe 15 billion at the end of the day. That is one. And after even the releases, did this money trickle down
To the sectors
to
where it's meant to serve.
or to the personnel in the field? Did they give them the required kits,
The ammunition.
the ammunition? Do you take them for training, retraining? So these are the questions we should ask. But unfortunately, we are concerned with the ceremony. Yes, Mr. President has stormed the National Assembly. He addressed the joint session. Education got this, and that's the end. No. Take the last year's budget. It will round up by December 31st, right? What is the, take the, okay, defense, you have been allocated, let's say, 4 trillion. Auditor, Accountant General, how much have you released to them? The actual receipt. The military, why are still people, soldiers in Borno, in Birnangwari, in Zamfara Sokoto, in Anambra, in Imo, are still crying? Why do we see them without helmet, without vest? Why is there even ammunitions? I'm not a military person using. Why are the IPOPs, the Boko Haram using superior weapons? Why will they run after exhausting their weapons, and what have you, their ammunition, and what have you? These are the questions we should ask.
So if we have been asking these questions, but are they really giving the answers? Who is to be, who would be the person to hold these people accountable?
The media, the civil society organizations, not the group that will say they have celebrating Mr. Sagir or celebrating Mr. Hajia Sumaya for sharing palliatives. No, there are FOI.
It's really sad that we have to ask these questions around accountability, and the reason is because we ought to have a robust National Assembly, Senate and House committee charged with oversight functions. But I don't know whether to say, you're laughing. Perhaps you know.
Do you want me to off the mic?
The mic is on. Perhaps you would just use the opportunity to have this conversation. So it's saddening, like I said, and it's really funny because you're laughing at it.
No, do you know the off the mic thing? You know where it?
Of course, I know where. Of course, I know.
You're talking about oversight. The same people that are they are constitutionally empowered to do the oversight are saying, Hajia, off the mic. Or journalists, go out. So you can't just allow them, you can't just leave everything to the National Assembly members. They are politicians. Majority of them are concerned, I'm not saying all of them, about the next election season.
And the cases they have at the different courts.
You understand? And the members there that maybe, who knows one of the judges that he can speak to, like one of the former senator said, you understand? So that is it. That's why the media comes in. That's why the civil society comes in. That's why even the electorate comes in. Mr. Governor, you got this money. How did you spend it? Yeah. During the Buhari's time, maybe let me put it this way. You know, when they started giving this bailout there are about 11 conditionalities set by the then Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, that your budget, the budget details must be uploaded on your official website. How many of the state governors have official websites? And go to the sites, those who have, only the photos of the governors. These are things that you should have. Now, ask your reporters. Majority of the state governors have presented their budget. The only thing they will send to you is the speech.
Honorable member, I do plead that you turn off your mic now, as the directors are telling us to turn off our mic, as we've served our time on air this morning. It's been a lovely conversation from start to this very moment on Daybreak. We do hope you viewers, you enjoyed the packages that we brought for you. And we're saying thank you to Malam Nura, who is the editor at 21st Century Chronicles, for his perspectives on the issue. And we do beg him not to jackpot, because if he does, we will have no reviewer for Fridays. So that's where we, pull the plug on the show this morning. And thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day. Happy New Month. Thank God it's Friday. My name is Sagir Ibrahim.